Hello, and welcome back to English with Confidence, the podcast where we break down language barriers one conversation at a time. I'm your host, Eric, and today's episode is all about daily routines. Joining me is language coach, Ruby. Ruby, are you ready to help our listeners master the present simple tense by talking about daily life?
Absolutely, Eric. Discussing routines is a fantastic way to build confidence in everyday English. Today, we'll walk through a typical day, explore useful vocabulary, and share tips on expressing common activities clearly and naturally.
Let's start by clarifying why the present simple tense is key for talking about routines. Emily, can you explain the basics for our listeners?
Of course. The present simple is used for habits, facts, and routines basically, actions that happen regularly. For example, we say, I wake up at 7 a.m. or she drinks coffee every morning. It's all about what you do day after day.
That makes it such a practical tense. But I know learners sometimes mix it up with the present continuous. What's a good trick to keep them apart?
Great question. Think of the present simple as your daily schedule. It's set and predictable. The present continuous is more like a snapshot of what you're doing right now. So, I eat breakfast at 8 versus I am eating breakfast now.
Let's dive into specific parts of the day, starting with the morning. Ruby, what are some common phrases people use to describe their morning routines?
Morning routines often start with I wake up, I brush my teeth, or I take a shower. Adding details like I usually make coffee or I check my phone before breakfast brings your story to life.
That's so true, and personalizing these phrases helps learners connect with what they actually do. For example, I always listen to the news while I get ready. How about you, Emily?
I'm a bit old-fashioned. I read a book while I have my tea. It's interesting how routines can reflect our personalities, don't you think?
Now, to make our routines clear, time expressions are essential. Ruby, could you elaborate on which words and phrases listeners should use to structure their day?
Absolutely. Phrases like every morning, at 7 a.m., after breakfast, or before work help organize your routine. For instance, I exercise every morning at 6:30, or I check emails before leaving the house.
That's a great point. Time expressions make your routine easy to follow and more relatable for listeners or readers. Let's move forward to the busiest part of the day, work or school. Ruby, what are some typical actions people describe, and how can learners express these using the present simple?
During work or school hours, people often say things like, I attend meetings, I write reports, I study math, or I have lunch at noon. It's helpful to use verbs like start, finish, answer, or discuss for variety.
That's helpful. And for learners, mixing in details like I answer emails first thing in the morning or I finish classes at 3 makes the routine more realistic. Speaking of lunch, many people have social interactions during their break. Ruby, how can learners talk about this part of their day in English?
You can use expressions like I eat lunch with my colleagues or I meet friends at the cafeteria, adding details such as we usually talk about our weekend plans or I often try new restaurants adds depth.
And these little moments are what make daily routines memorable. Sharing such details helps learners connect with others on a personal level. After lunch, the afternoon can feel different. What phrases can learners use to describe staying productive or handling routine tasks later in the day?
Great question. People often say, I continue working on projects, I attend more classes, or I complete assignments. Expressions like I take a short break at 3 p.m. or I check my to-do list are also useful.
And let's not forget the universal experience of a mid-afternoon slump. That's when many people say, I need a coffee break or I stretch to stay focused. As the workday ends, routines shift toward relaxation and family. Ruby, what are some common evening activities and how should learners talk about them?
Evenings are perfect for phrases like I cook dinner, I spend time with my family, I watch TV, or I read a book. Adding, I usually go for a walk after dinner, or I call my parents every night personalizes the routine.
That's true. Evening routines often include hobbies, which reveal a lot about a person's interests and lifestyle. Now let's talk about winding down at night. What are some useful expressions for describing bedtime routines?
Listeners can use I brush my teeth, I set my alarm, Or I go to bed at 11 p.m. Adding details like I check my schedule for tomorrow or I meditate before sleeping helps paint a fuller picture.
And as a tip, mentioning consistent bedtime habits is a great way for learners to discuss self-care and discipline. Before we wrap up, Ruby, let's compare routines across cultures. Have you noticed differences in daily habits when teaching students from around the world?
Absolutely. For example, in Spain, lunch is often at 2 or 3 p.m., whereas in the US, it's usually at noon. In Japan, students clean their classrooms as part of their daily routine. These differences make language learning fascinating.
That's a great observation. Understanding these cultural nuances can help learners avoid misunderstandings and make deeper connections. To finish, what strategies can listeners use to practice describing their routines and build vocabulary?
One effective method is keeping a daily journal in English. Write about your day each evening. Also, try recording yourself speaking about your routines and listening for areas to improve. Flashcards and language exchange apps add variety.
Those are fantastic ideas. The more you practice, the more confident you'll become. And don't forget, mistakes are just part of the learning process. That brings us to the end of today's episode on daily routines and the present simple. Ruby, thank you for sharing your insights and practical tips.
Thank you, Eric. It's always a pleasure. I hope our listeners feel more confident expressing their daily routines in English.
Don't forget to subscribe to English with Confidence so you never miss an episode. Share your own daily routine with us on social media. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep practicing and stay confident.